When someone is suddenly gone, the hardest part to process is how the room around you stays exactly the same. The light hits the wall at the same angle, casting the identical shadows it did yesterday. The Bengali poem, The Silent Echo of Unspoken Love, captures this paralysis. It opens with a narrator staring at the sunlight through a window, watching a world that has failed to react to their loss. This chart illustrates a cognitive concept called environmental anchoring. Your brain links specific physical cues, like the light from a window or the height of a chair, directly to the expectation of a specific person being present. The tragedy of grief begins with the environment itself. The physical space continues to broadcast a false promise to your nervous system, signaling that the missing person is about to walk into the room. The poem notes a specific behavioral glitch caused by this false promise. The narrator forms words, starts to speak, and then abruptly stops mid-sentence. The intended listener is gone. This is a phantom habit. An established neural sequence fires an impulse towards an action, like sharing a thought, but the path violently breaks. The brain is left holding a message with no valid receiver to hear it. For the narrator, the daylight hours are a sequence of these aborted interactions. Dozens of times a day, the instinct to communicate surges, only to be swallowed by the silence of the room. The human mind actively constructs this illusion of presence to stave off the immediate, crushing shock of permanent loss. While this acts as a necessary short-term survival mechanism, it traps the individual in a loop of interrupted actions, preventing them from moving past the expectation of a return. As the poem shifts from day to night, the external environment fades. The physical anchors, the window, the light, disappear, and the mind loses its daylight distractions. Darkness amplifies memory, turning passive sorrow into active auditory hallucinations. Old words seemingly float in the ear, tricking the brain into feeling presence. Cut off from external environmental anchors, the isolated brain generates its own internal sensory triggers to fill the void. The mind's attempt to bridge the gap in the dark only highlights the narrator's absolute isolation. At this moment of sensory confusion, the poem reaches its structural turning point. The text delivers a blunt realization. But the truth is very silent. You will not return anymore. This diagram shows the shift from memory to logic. The oscillating wave of active memory hits a wall of factual finality and flatlines. This creates immense psychological friction. A vivid, romanticized memory collides with an unchangeable, silent fact. The noisy, chaotic echoes of the night memories are replaced by the absolute silence of reality. This dialectical crash violently forces the narrator out of the illusion, plunging them into a heavy psychological void. The narrator refuses to stay in that void. The poem pivots on a single word, yet, tobo. It is a rejection of the newly established silent reality. This is emotional dissonance. The logical brain accepts the factual truth of absence, but the emotional system refuses to stop searching. The poem describes the agony of a daily microscopic search for the lost individual hidden within mundane routines. This search serves to maintain the neurological connection to the person's memory, regardless of the physical reality. This refusal is a conscious choice to endure the pain of dissonance rather than sever the bond entirely. The poem acknowledges a physical limit. The mental strain of waiting will eventually succumb to exhaustion. While the act of waiting inevitably tires, the emotion itself persists. The love transforms into something entirely internalized and silent. Unspoken silent love represents a final psychological integration. It is the state where the memory of the person is preserved without the need for external confirmation. In the end, this silent love serves as the mind's final resolution, a way to keep the lost individual permanently present within the mind's own silence.